All right. So thank you all again for joining us today. Before you head off to Scandinavia, we wanted to reach out to answer questions you may have about what to pack, currency, where to meet, all those kinds of things. First, I'll go over just some general information, answer some of the questions that were submitted on the registration forms, and then at the end of the presentation, I'll open it up for any additional questions that you may have. Again, my name is Amanda Hancock. If you have questions that I don't answer for you today, please feel free to contact us by phone or email. I also invite you to visit our website as you'll find a variety of information about traveling in the Scandinavia and beyond, and our travel tips. And then I know, again, some of you have questions specific to your escorted tour, and I may not answer those online today, but we'll be sure to answer those via email after the webinar. So, a couple of weeks before you depart on your trip to Scandinavia, you can expect to receive a packet of information from our office. You can expect one packet of information per couple. In the package, you'll find the following: a departure letter with some basic information pertaining to your specific tour, a final tour itinerary, your flight itinerary, luggage tags, contact information for the hotels you'll be staying at while on tour, airport information, and any additional information that might pertain to your escorted tour. Now, some documents are more important than others. For instance, please double check to make sure that your passport book is valid for at least 3 to 6 months after your return date and that you have a copy or two of your passport. Be sure to pack your passport and a copy in your carry-on. You may also want to leave a copy of your passport with a family member or friend, which can be sent to the U.S. Embassy in case your passport is lost or stolen while overseas. And please take a few moments to ensure that the name listed on your airline ticket matches your passport name, and this includes your first, middle, and last name. You may also want to keep your airline receipt to ensure that any miles you accrue are credited to your account by the airline. And finally, if you've booked any independent services with us, say a pre or post tour stay, please review your documents before departing the US and contact us immediately if you notice any errors or if you have any questions. Please note that the vouchers will have emergency contact numbers in case you need assistance while traveling. And finally, please be sure to note any special instructions on your vouchers. For instance, some train vouchers may need to be exchanged for an actual ticket before you get on the train. Now, on the land portion of your tour, we do allow one suitcase and one handbag per person, such as a tote or a backpack. Luggage handling at hotels is provided for one suitcase, thus, your luggage will be delivered and picked up at your room at the beginning and end of your stay. So, we do provide one luggage tag per person, so please put those tags on your large suitcase so it'll make it easier for the luggage handling at the hotel. You may also want to put a label with your name, address, and phone number inside your luggage in case your tag becomes separated. Now, most airlines do allow one free piece of checked luggage on international flights. If you have any domestic tickets booked in conjunction with your international flight, the airlines may charge a baggage fee, so you'll want to check with your airline before departing to see if any fees apply. And typically, your luggage can weigh up to 50 pounds, and the dimensions cannot exceed 62 inches. And this is length plus width plus height. A large standard roller bag is what we recommend to use during your trip. And because luggage fees and restrictions vary from airline to airline, I put this sheet together just so you have a kind of a quick, easy reference to where you can contact the airline directly for more information. Now, inside your suitcase, here are a few things we recommend bringing. Casual clothing is appropriate throughout the tour. For included dinners, you may wish to bring something slightly dressier, such as slacks and a nice shirt or blouse, as Scandinavians do tend to dress up a bit for the evenings. That said, it is completely optional. Now, layers are key. Temperatures can change throughout the day, especially if we move between regions and elevations, so having flexible clothing will keep you comfortable. And good walking shoes are a must. Many areas we visit will have cobblestone streets, uneven terrain, or there's even light hiking opportunities if you wish. So this is not the place for heels or flip-flops. And a raincoat is highly recommended, ideally one with a removable lining. A rain poncho is also a good option, especially for quick changes in weather. A light jacket or coat will come in handy for mornings and evenings, even in the summer months. And you may also want to bring a swimsuit if you like to enjoy any of the hotel pools or spas or even a sauna experience. And finally, leave valuables at home. If it's something that would cause emotional or financial stress if lost, it's best not to bring it. And just a couple of other little tips. In case your luggage is delayed, pack a change of clothes and any essentials in your carry on. And if you're traveling with someone, consider splitting a few items between your suitcases just in case one bag is delayed. And if you're planning to visit family or friends while in Scandinavia, it's always a thoughtful gesture to bring a small gift, especially if they're hosting you. Some ideas include items unique to your hometown or state, college or professional sports gear, American themed items such as flags or decor, local specialties or small gifts that reflect your region, and then for kids, clothing, candies, puzzles, or character themed items. Some other items that you may want to pack include snacks and a refillable water bottle. Washcloths. A lot of the hotels in Scandinavia don't have washcloths, so if you like to wash your face at the end of the day, you may want to bring your own. Tissues, a sewing kit or safety pins, medications, and this includes prescription and over the counter, band aids or a first aid kit. And just a quick side note, allergy and cold medications may not have the same ingredients or the strength as what you would find here in the US. So you may want to bring some along, especially if you're like me, you have seasonal allergies. So you may want to go ahead and just pack some extra. Converter or adapter, and we'll talk about those in just a little bit. Sunscreen and sunglasses, extra eyeglasses or a repair kit, and then on the flip side of that, extra contacts and solution, maps and travel information, spot removers such as a Tide stick or wipes, inflatable pillow and an eye mask, umbrella or poncho, a journal to record your favorite memories, a small day pack for sweaters, camera, snacks, and water, and then plastic bags. These are great for anything that's wet or you want to keep your soiled clothing away from your clean clothing. Now, the climate in Scandinavia is very similar to that in the northeastern US, though rarely as hot in the summer or as cold in the winter. Average daytime temperatures in Fahrenheit for June, July, and August range from the 50s to 70s, depending upon your region of travel. And these are just average temperatures. It's always a good idea to check the weather forecast before you depart the US so you can pack accordingly in case of warmer weather, which we all know we've seen the thing online where Europe is kind of going through a heat wave right now. So it might be actually a little bit warmer than what these temperatures reflect. So it's always a good idea just to check ahead of time. And then, of course, if there's any predicted rainfall, that sort of thing, that way you can be prepared. Now, Norway, Denmark, Sweden, and Iceland each have their own currency known as the kroner, and in Finland they use euro. The currency of the five countries is not interchangeable. So the good news is you don't really need to worry too much about exchanging money ahead of time. Honestly, the easiest place to exchange your money is at your arrival airport, and your tour director can assist with locating an exchange desk or an ATM. Credit cards are widely accepted almost everywhere, and I really do mean everywhere, even for something small such as a cup of coffee or a snack. Visa, MasterCard, and Apple Pay are just some of the examples of widely accepted payment methods. And before you leave, I do recommend giving your credit card company a quick call just to let them know you'll be traveling internationally so your card isn't flagged for any unusual activity. And it's also a good time to ask if they charge any foreign transaction fees so there are no surprises on your statement later. And as a backup, it's always a good idea to have a second card just in case. And if you'd like to look at current exchange rates, you can check out owanda.com. And if you're shopping, I've included just kind of a quick reference so you can easily figure out about how much something would be in the US. So if you see something that's in Norwegian kroner, if you divide by 9 or 10, that will give you kind of a general idea. Usually Norwegian kroner and Swedish kroner are pretty similar, so you could divide by the same amount. And then Danish kroner is a little bit less, around 6. Icelandic kroner is completely different, so you would divide by 120, and then for euro, multiply by 1.2 to kind of get the dollar amount. Now, if you're interested in staying connected while traveling, you may wish to contact your service provider. So this would be Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T, whoever you use for your cell phone service. They can offer, you can see what international plans they offer, and then many companies now have a simple daily or monthly travel plans, so which is really nice. Otherwise, if you are connected to the internet, you can use various apps such as WhatsApp, FaceTime, etc., to stay in touch with folks back home. And speaking of the internet, Wi Fi is readily available at the hotels and may also be available on your bus. So, if you do plan to set off on your own, you may wish to download any maps or important information before you disconnect from the internet if that's your primary way of staying connected. So, if you don't get an international plan, then if you are planning to set out, and also on your own, download a map ahead of time, and that will save you from getting lost. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about the converters and adapters. I know we had several questions about that. So, most North American devices operate on the 110, 125-volt electricity. However, many other countries use 20 to 40. So, you may need a voltage converter to safely use your electronics in Scandinavia. To find out, you will need to look on your device to determine if it's 125 or if it's dual voltage. It's often very small print, so you have to look closely. And if your device is dual voltage, then all you need is an adapter, and that is this black. That just basically just changes the plug. So these usually sell around $3 to $5, and it's the two round prongs. That's the type you need for Scandinavia. Now, if you do need a converter, both of these things can actually be found at your big box stores, Target, Walmart, and then online, such as Amazon. So, and then converters have come a long way over the years. So they look a little bit different now, but they'll have the different attachments, and then they've got, kind of a larger box that will change the voltage. So, but many of your newer electronic devices, tablets, phones, that sort of thing are dual voltage. So really all you need is an adapter. But if you're not sure, go with a converter and save yourself from frying your electronics. So, all right. So if you are interested, if you're planning to travel to Minneapolis for your departing flight, you may be interested in our Park and Fly special in conjunction with the DoubleTree by Hilton. Rates start at 139 for a king or two bedroom, and that also includes 10 days of free parking. It has a shuttle to the airport and the Mall of America. If that's something that you would be interested in, please contact our office, and then we can set that up for you. You can stay either before or after your tour to take advantage. And speaking of the Minneapolis airport, there are two terminals at the Minneapolis St. Paul International Airport. Iceland Air will depart from Terminal 2, Humphrey. Now, if you have a domestic flight arriving into Terminal 1, there is free transportation between the two terminal buildings. All Iceland Air flights will route through the Keflavik Airport in Iceland. You will have to switch planes in Iceland, but the layover time is much shorter. So here you only need about 30 to 45 minutes to go from gate to gate. You will need to go through passport control before you head to your gate for the next leg of your flight. And instead of a stamp, now they're doing photos and fingerprints. So this is the EES system that has just been started this year. So it's looking, hearing from clients and customers and that sort of thing is pretty quick and easy. Like I said, instead of a stamp, now they're going to take your picture and do your fingerprints. So once that's done, you're free to continue on to Norway without any further immigration checks. So you do not need to collect your luggage in Reykjavik if it's been checked through to your final destination. Now, during your flight with Iceland Air, you can expect free in-flight entertainment. Headphones are for sale, or you can bring your own. You'll also receive complimentary water, soft drinks, tea, and coffee. There is a selection of food for sale, or you can bring your own. There are no complimentary meals or snacks that will be offered on board, except for in Saga class. Now, for those that had requested window or aisle seats on your tour applications, we will request those, the best available seats based on their wants and needs. And however, we can't guarantee that the airlines will not change or cancel the seats after the request has been made. If we're not able to assign the seats at the time of booking, you will be assigned a seat when checking into the flight. Now, during your flight, if your flight arrives in the morning, try to sleep on the plane. And if you're like me, that can be a little hard. So, bringing an eye mask, earplugs, a travel pillow, or a blanket can make that much easier. You'll also want to pack a few essentials in your carry-on, like a toothbrush and basic toiletries. Non-liquid items are the easiest, so you can freshen up before landing. You want to wear loose, comfortable clothing and supportive shoes. So, because your feet may swell during long flights, it's best to keep your shoes on or wear ones that are easy to slip on and off. And when possible, get up and walk around the cabin to stretch and keep your circulation moving. You'll also want to stay hydrated, drink plenty of water, and try to limit alcohol and caffeine, as both can contribute to dehydration and they'll disrupt your sleep. If you wear contact lenses, consider switching to glasses during the flight. The cabin air can be very drying. And if you're prone to motion sickness, ginger products such as ginger ale or ginger chews can help settle your stomach. Now, after you arrive, spend time outdoors in natural daylight. This is one of the most effective ways to help your body adjust to the new time zone. And try to stay awake until the local evening. Even if you're tired, this will help reset your internal clock more quickly. Now, where to meet your tour director. So, if you have booked escorted tour flights with us, after deplaning and collecting your luggage, you'll proceed through passport control. You'll see two exits, green if you have nothing to declare, and red if you have something to declare. You'll choose the appropriate exit, and then after leaving the customs area, you'll continue to the arrival hall, and that is where you will meet your tour director, and they will be standing there with a Brekke tour sign. So, if you're arriving on a different flight other than our group flights, you can choose from several modes of transportation from the airport to the hotel. There are buses that have frequent departures, and then you can also choose taxis and trains in some of the larger cities. And however, it may be necessary to take a taxi from the central station if you're arriving, if you want to transfer via bus or train. From the central station to your hotel, you may want to take a taxi. Um, you can then meet the group at the hotel for dinner that night, and the dinner time is listed in your departure letter, which is in your travel documents. Now we're going to switch to talking a little bit about the hotels. And one of the first things you may notice is that the hotels in Scandinavia are often smaller than what we're used to here in the US. Some hotels, especially if they're historic, may also not have air conditioning. So, all hotels included in our itineraries do offer private bathrooms with a shower and sometimes a tub, toilet, and sink. Many hotels use their key cards to control electricity in the room. So, you typically insert your card into a slot near the entrance to activate the lights and power. This is a common energy saving practice. Now, in larger cities, some hotels may offer guest laundry facilities or laundry service for an additional cost. The front desk can provide those details. And Scandinavia is increasingly cashless, so it's a good idea to have a credit card readily available for any hotel purchases. Most hotels offer Wi Fi in the rooms, and many will also have public areas or business centers with internet access. And before heading out on your own, consider grabbing a business card or a map from the front desk. If you happen to get turned around, it makes it easy to show someone where you're staying. And in your room, you'll typically find a hair dryer and basic toiletries such as shampoo or shower gel. Irons or steamers may be available, though sometimes it's on request rather than in every room. So while on tour, we just want to talk about some of the physical expectations. Most days begin with a hotel departure between 7:30 and 9, depending on the day schedule. A breakfast buffet is included each morning, so you'll want to allow time to enjoy that before you depart. And your tour director will review the next day's timing each evening. So if you guys are meeting for dinner before you disperse after you get off the bus, usually he or she will tell you, you can expect to meet the bus tomorrow morning at 8:30 and we'll depart at 9, what have you. So your tour director will let you know ahead of time. And you can typically expect to arrive to your hotel around 6 p.m., sometimes earlier. And then on travel days, we do include regular stops for restroom breaks, photos, and sightseeing along the way. Now, our tours are designed to be comfortable and manageable, but they do involve daily walking. You can expect short distances, sometimes over uneven surfaces, such as cobblestones, on hills, or on gravel paths. You should feel comfortable getting on and off the motor coach independently, navigating steps and occasional stairs, and managing in buildings where elevators may be limited or unavailable. And just a few important notes. Participation in daily activities is always optional, so you're welcome to take time at your own pace when needed. And if you do require assistance with mobility, we recommend traveling with a companion who is able to assist you throughout the tour. Motorized scooters are not suitable for our escorted tours due to the terrain, space limitation, and accessibility challenges. Now, tipping in Scandinavia is another topic that a lot of people ask about. Scandinavia does have higher wages built into the pricing, so tipping is less of a cultural expectation. But when in doubt, rounding up is always appropriate. So for restaurants, 5 to 10% if the service charge isn't already included. If you're not sure, you can ask your server. Gratuities for the tour director, guide, and driver are left to the discretion of our tour members and therefore not included in the tour cost. Tipping in the local currency is preferred to local guides and drivers. However, if your tour director is based in the US, tips would be appreciated in the US dollars rather than local currency. If you've been satisfied with their services, we suggest the following amounts as appropriate. So for your city guides and bus drivers, around $5 per person per tour or per day, usually, and that's preferred in the local currency. And then for your tour director, around $10 per person per day. And that could be US dollars or local currency, depending on where your tour director resides. And that information will be included in your travel documents packet on your Meet Your Tour Director letter. So additional information on tipping can be found on page 4 of our travel tips booklet. So while we try to do everything to ensure a smooth trip, occasional hiccups can happen. The good news is you're not on your own. Here's how you can handle some things if they come up. First, start with your tour director. Your tour director is your best resource while on tour. Whether it's lost luggage, a medical concern, a simple question, they're there to help and guide you to the right solution. Now, if you're on your own, you haven't met up with the group yet, or if you're exploring independently, go directly to the source. It's the airline staff, the hotel front desk, the car rental agency, what have you. If you need directions or assistance, don't hesitate to ask locals. Most Scandinavians speak excellent English and are happy to help. Now, for urgent situations, be familiar with how to place a call internationally and know the local emergency numbers, and these will be included in your final travel documents, so be sure to bring that sheet with you. If your passport is lost or stolen, contact your tour director right away if you're on tour, or locate the nearest U.S. embassy or consulate to begin the replacement process. And one final thought, travel doesn't always go perfectly, and that's okay. Stay flexible, keep a sense of humor, and don't let a small hiccup take away what could be an incredible experience. And these were just a few extra helpful tips that we just kind of threw together. They didn't really belong anyplace else, so they're just kind of random. First off is watch your step. Door thresholds are often raised, and bathtubs can be higher than what you're used to in the US, so it's just something to be mindful of. Now, getting the check. In restaurants, your servers typically won't bring the bill unless you ask. So when you're ready, just say, "May we have the check?" And for money and payments, again, Scandinavia is largely cashless, so credit cards are widely accepted even for small purchases. And again, I can't stress this enough. It's a good idea to notify your bank and credit card company before you depart the US that you will be traveling. Now, if you're planning to bring some liquid items, uh, putting those in a Ziploc bag is a good idea. You may also want to bring a small amount of soap for hand washing items, as finding a laundromat can be a challenge. It's far more economical to hand wash items rather than having the hotels launder them for you. You may want to pack a couple of days in advance so you don't forget essentials. And bring a few snacks for travel days and granola bars, trail mix, that sort of thing. And then you can use that space for your souvenirs on your way home. A few other things, tap water is excellent. And so you can bring that refillable water bottle and you can save yourself a little bit of money every day. English is widely spoken, so getting around is pretty easy. And summer days are very long, so you may want to bring an eye mask if you're sensitive to light when sleeping. And finally, just leave a little extra space in your suitcase. You'll likely want it for souvenirs on your way home. So, I just want to answer a few questions that were submitted on the registration forms, and then, like I said, I'm going to open it up for questions here in just a few minutes. So, the first one is, will there be free time on the tour? So, there is free time built into all of our tours, and this is a great opportunity to explore on your own or simply relax. Your tour director or local city guide are always wonderful resources for recommendations, whether it's a museum, a scenic walk, or a great place to eat. Now, if you indicated any dietary restrictions or preferences on your registration form, this information has been shared with the hotels and restaurants in advance. We do ask that you please introduce yourself to your tour director at the start of the tour so that they can reconfirm those details along the way. And there are no special vaccines required for travel to Scandinavia. As always, it's a good idea to be up to date on your routine vaccinations, but nothing additional is needed. And then if you are traveling with prescription medications, you'll want to pack those in your carry-on, and you may want to bring a few extra in case you are delayed somewhere during your travels. And finally, it's a good idea to bring a copy of your prescription in case you need to make an unexpected refill. Now, if you are traveling with the CPAP machine, you are welcome to bring that with you on your flight. It is considered a medical device and does not count toward your carry-on allowance. If you plan to bring your CPAP machine, please let us know in advance so we can provide the airlines with the make and model and weight. And please send that information 2 to 3 weeks prior to departure to our office so that we can share that with the airlines. Now, at your destinations, hotel rooms will have electrical outlets available, but you may need a plug adapter for the European outlets. And if your CPAP requires distilled water, small amounts can be brought in your carry-on, so it's at 3.4 ounces or less. However, many travelers just use regular bottled water on a 2-week tour without any issues. And in most cases, bottled water is not going to damage the humidifier or CPAP for such a short period of time. All right. And now you know. So at this point, I'm going to open it up for any questions that you may have. I'm going to do my best to answer those. And while we wait for everybody to type those in, I'm going to flip over. This is our contact information. So again, if you have questions that you think of later or that we didn't answer for you, that sort of thing, please let us know. Again, if you have questions related to your specific tour or your flights or what have you that I didn't answer, we will be reaching out after the webinar to answer those. I know some people had some questions about their flights and layovers and schedules, and because those are different for each tour, I didn't want to go into details, with everybody. So, oh, do prescriptions need to be in their original bottles, or can they be in a pill organizer? I have always brought my pills in just a pill organizer and just brought a copy of my prescription along with me. So that's not to say that if you would feel better leaving them in the original bottles, so that you have the prescription right on there and the dosage amount and that sort of thing, you're welcome to bring those. So I guess it just is a personal preference. Do we need to do anything for the TSA? Uh, Not that I'm aware of, like anything special. Um, So let's see. Any concerns with COVID? Should we get a booster? Again, that's completely a personal choice. If you are more susceptible, it may not be a bad idea. Just it's a regular type vaccine nowadays. So again, that is completely your preference. Um, and let's see. Um, Okay, so somebody's asking about using an American Express card. Those are usually accepted in some of the larger stores. Visa and MasterCard are usually more widely accepted, but another option would be maybe to connect your American Express card to like Apple Pay or something like that. So that might be an option instead of having that. But as far as I have seen, American Express is accepted in some of the larger stores. So um, okay, so the customs, when you arrive at the airport, you have the red and the green if you have something to declare, green if you have nothing to declare. So that is if you are bringing in, large amounts of money, liquor, alcohol, cigarettes, things like that. So those are the things that the customs wants to know that you're bringing in, and a list of those can be found, on the customs website for Norway. So unless you're bringing in, some sort of commercial type products, animal products, things like that, then most people just go to the green. So, um, can hotels tell us about their internet upload and download speeds? That would be a good question for the front desk. So if you have a question, if you need higher speeds or something like that, that would be something that I would ask the front desk to see if they could help you out with that. Let's see here. You do not go through customs in Minneapolis. So you will need to show your passport at Minneapolis before you get on the plane. You will actually go through passport control. If you're flying on Iceland Air, you will do that in Iceland, and then you will go through quote unquote customs when you land in your final destination, whether it be Oslo or Bergen or wherever. How early should we be there to check in? For Minneapolis, TSA recommends 3 hours for international travel, so that is what we typically recommend is the 3 hours. Okay. Uh, how safe is it to walk around Oslo? So I know that's kind of been in the news lately, is that there can be crime, I guess, in Norway, and that has increased over the past few years. But honestly, it's no worse than any other large city. I mean, pickpockets are probably the biggest issue that you'll have to worry about. As long as are aware of your surroundings, keep your items, secure, that sort of thing. Just take the general precautions that you would in any large city. Uh, Karen, you had asked about using a debit card instead of a credit card. I That would be something that you may wanna ask your bank if you can do, depending on your situation. So that would be a question maybe that you wanna ask your bank. I honestly never used my debit card when I was traveling except to get cash out of an ATM. So, that would be something that you may wanna ask your bank. Is Discover Card accepted? It can be. Again, it's kind of like American Express, not as widely as Visa or MasterCard, so just something to be aware of. Um, Lee, you had asked about how many people are on this tour. I'm not sure because I am not looking at the list of tour participants at this moment, but that's something that we can send to you after the presentation. So If we have any other questions, I'm happy to try and answer those. One thing I do want to go back, oh, we have people typing. Oh, okay. Um, Okay, just again, I'm gonna leave this up just in case you guys want to read a little bit more about the converters versus adapters, and I'll try to answer some more questions. Let's see, are Ubers available in Norway and Iceland? In the larger cities, yes. So in Norway, they're probably a little bit more readily available. Bergen, Oslo, Trondheim, Stavanger, that sort of thing. In Iceland, maybe in Reykjavik, and I'm not sure really past that if you're going to be able to find an Uber. Maybe up north in Akureyri, but beyond that, it might be slim. um, okay. Okay. Yes, I can include a copy of the slides, so that is not a problem. So yes. Okay. So one, we had asked, somebody had asked about the luggage. So one large suitcase and one carry-on. Like a tote bag or a backpack, things like that. So let me go back to that one. So again, your check bag should be, it's a 50 pounds, and then for the dimensions, around 62 inches. And that's the length, width, and height. So. And can you bring chi powder on a carry-on? I would have to look at that one. I am not sure if that's something that would be. I mean, it's a powder. It's not a liquid. I would have to check on that. So CJ, I will check and we will have to get back to you on that one. So I just um, want to double check. Does a purse count as a carry-on? That's a personal item, so that would be a purse would be separate. So. Unless you're like my mom and has like the big mom bag that doubles as a duffel bag, um, that might be your your your, your carry-on. But if you have a reasonably sized purse, that's usually separate. So, and then I'll leave this up here in case anybody is wanting to look at the baggage, because every airline is a little bit different. Um, so 62 inches is usually kind of a common denominator between the different airlines, but you may want to check out your specific airline to see if that varies at all. But okay. Do we have a place to store our carry-ons during the day? Yes. So on the bus, usually there is like a little overhead space. It's usually not very big though, so I will point that out. It is large enough for maybe a small backpack, a tote bag, your purse, that sort of thing. Otherwise, a lot of times there's space underneath your seat or in the seat in front of you, kind of like in the airlines. So there are places, and usually if you are leaving the bus for any length of time, you're going to a museum, that sort of thing. The bus driver will either remain with the bus or he will lock the bus, depending on where you guys are at, so your items are secure. Um, let's see here. Can you buy Lufsa at common stores? I don't know that I've ever seen Lufsa. Uh, but that's not to say that it's there. That's just mean that I maybe wasn't looking for it. But I do enjoy going to grocery stores. in different countries just to see, what is different. So that might be something that you could check out to see if they do have lefse. So you will not need to get your checked bag in Iceland. So it should be checked all the way to your final destination. That is something that you will want to check when you check in at your airport here in the US. So if you were checking into the Minneapolis airport, just make sure that your luggage is checked all the way through to Bergen or Oslo or wherever. And then you should not have to claim that in Iceland and then recheck it. It'll just go all the way through. If your carry-on is your only luggage item, yes, that can go under the motor coach. So if you are bringing, just one piece of luggage, then yes. And a lot of times there is space underneath the bus, but depending on the size of the bus and the size of the group, that space may be limited. So it will just depend on how much space is there. But if that's your only item, then yes, it will go under the bus. Does your motor coach have a glass ceiling? It does not. So, again, the buses will vary depending on the tours, but I don't believe any of our buses or the bus companies that we work with have glass ceiling buses, unfortunately. That would be amazing though. Okay, medical emergencies overseas. So if you are experiencing a medical emergency, obviously you'd want to call the emergency services first. And that information, we include how to, the number. It's not 911 like here in the US. So it's different for each country. So that information will be in your final travel documents packet. So that's a sheet that you may want to have with you and keep that in your carry-on. And then also your tour director can help, if you fall and you need medical assistance, something like that. The best source locally would be your tour director. So, um, and then depending on your like health insurance or travel insurance, those would be two separate things. So your health insurance, that would be dependent upon your health insurance company, so that would be something that you'd want to discuss with them. And then travel insurance, if you did purchase travel insurance, again, that would be something that's going to vary depending on the type of travel insurance that you purchased. So you would want to review those benefits to see what is covered. Um, so do the buses have restrooms? Some of them do, yes. So some of the larger buses will have restrooms on board. With that, though, I would say unless it's an emergency, we do try to stop at least, every couple of hours for restroom breaks and that sort of thing. But it is there for emergency purposes, but it is like riding a bull. So just something to be wary of. And sometimes they are located kind of in the stairwell of the middle of the bus. So you have to descend those steps to get in and out. So just something to be aware of. Do we need to sign up for the low and skylift in advance? That might be an idea or I'm sorry, a question that we can answer for you after the webinar, because it will depend on availability for that date. So we can get back to you with more information on that. Mm, Passport control will be after you pick up your baggage. So you will exit the plane. You will go. Oh, I'm sorry. Passport control will be in Iceland. So you will go through passport. Everybody will go through passport control in Iceland. So you just basically follow all the people that are coming off of your plane, and they've got signs, and it's a pretty simple process. I've never waited more than like 15 minutes in line. Now in Bergen, you will disembark. You'll go through the duty-free shop because they filter everybody through that duty-free shop, and then you will collect your luggage, and then you will proceed through customs. So you will get your luggage first and then proceed through customs. Are public restrooms free? So typically when we stop for restroom breaks, we do try to stop at places that we know the restrooms are free. So that should not be an issue. And then if you want to bring extra things, extra supplies, that's completely up to you. Um, but some of those systems may be kind of old, so flushing those kinds of things down the toilet may not be an option. Can you recommend a few words of Norwegian to learn? So we do have a few things that I can include on let me make myself a note, um, that we can share. So I will include that in the link to the presentation. So yes. So duty free is so when you arrive at your arrival airport, whether that be Bergen or Oslo, duty free shop is tax free. So you probably have seen that in the airports here in the U.S. as well. So if you're flying internationally, you can go through the duty free shop, and that's a really good place to pick up snacks. So I like hitting up the duty free shop before we leave to chocolate. Chocolate is really good, and then some snacks just to bring along with you. So that would be something that you could hit on your way out. But you don't want to take too long because you're kind of tired and you're just kind of wanting to get, to your hotel and get settled and that sort of thing. So just be aware of that. So, all right. Well, if we have any other questions, um, yeah, everybody needs to learn the chant. I'm sure you guys have seen that with the World Cup happening here in the U.S. So the row, so everybody should practice. Everybody should practice. Maybe we could have some chants going on the bus. So that would be a lot of fun. All right. Well, I will. Oh, somebody asking about the converters. Mm, So there we go. So the converters usually come in a kit like this. They have several different plugs, and then there's usually a larger box. So so those are usually a little bit more, maybe 25, $35, depending on which kind you get. And a lot of the newer ones nowadays will have actually USB ports or USB-C ports. So there's lots of different ones to choose from. Adapters are pretty straightforward. All it does is change the plugs. So as long as your device is dual voltage, all you need is just to change the plug. So um, mm, and then okay, so we had a couple of questions about tour, how many people are on tours. So we'll look at that and get those answers to you after the webinar. And again, if there was something that I didn't answer, or if you need more clarification on anything before you guys depart, please email us or call us, and we'll try to get those answers for you. Of course, we can't know everything, but there's always opportunity to learn new things, so we always appreciate that. And then, if you're like me, you think of questions, about 5 minutes after, again, you can email us and we'll get those answers for you. And then if you had something specific on your registration form or something specific to your tour, we'll try to get that information to you today or tomorrow to answer those questions for you. But I will try to get this presentation along with the link to the recording so you can watch it again later if you so choose. And again, if there's any other questions, please feel free to contact us. So I'm going to go ahead and most of you probably know how to contact us, but just in case, yes. So I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon. I do appreciate you joining me this morning. I know it's taking an hour out of your time today, but I do appreciate it. Hopefully, we answered some of your pre-departure questions, and please feel free to contact us if you do think of something later, and we will be in touch with some of those more specific questions or specific answers to your questions after the presentation. So I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us.